Hey Vlad, Robert here. You two requested a portfolio review and I already have it open. And as you might have noticed, I always do that through video to really talk about the nuances a bit more. So let me share my screen and jump straight into it. First impressions is really professional, good looking. I like how you added the logos or name types to everything. Which really adds to that professional look. Something that, in my opinion, more artists should really step into. And it's also something we actually talk a lot about at Mesh Masters and in our bootcamp, is really that branding and impression of yourself and your portfolio and your work. So good job to that. You do have a lot of gray sculpt work. So I'm guessing in the pipeline of Wayfinder, you're only doing the sculpting, and from there you're passing it on to the next person who is then doing the game mesh and all the materials and UVs, which is cool from a pipeline standpoint. But it would be cool if you can also show more finished work down the line. Because it's very rare, only really in bigger companies where you have such a niche position in a pipeline and a studio. So be aware of that in the future when you are looking for freelance clients or a new job. I already have everything open. Let me redo that actually. So let's take a dive into all the pieces themselves. So yeah. Like I said, looks professional, cool. I always like this style, by the way, this stylized style with all the edge wear sculpted into it. It's really cool. I assume, I'm not really sure, but you have the light and dark areas. Does that maybe mean you only did the light parts? Could be interesting to show that better in your portfolio pieces, what exactly you did here. Otherwise, the turntable is always cool. You could opt to improve maybe presentation a little bit. The background and the lighting could be a bit better. It's not bad per se, but I think we all know how the industry can be. So I personally always believe improving everything as much as you can, and presentation is, in my opinion, why we are artists. So yeah, if you have the time to do that, maybe in future work or this one, spend the extra time to really put that final little point of polish in the work. But still a really cool piece. Very cool that you were able to do and work on Wayfinder. A big question I do often have when I hire people myself, when I see a portfolio like this, is how much were you involved in the actual design process? And how much did the art director guide you making this end result? And I'm saying that because it has happened before where I hired a person which had a great portfolio, and then during production, I realized that it was the art director above him or her that actually did all the heavy lifting. And so in our situation, when we were working with that person in the team, the end result wasn't really as strong as the portfolio showed. Now, obviously, this was a learning point in my own journey of being a lead art director and hiring people, but it is still cool to show the process behind this end result better in your portfolio. And it is often what I also tell people is, of course, have your cool images, but the process of how you got there and the breakdowns is maybe even more important than the final visuals you have. Now this is sculpt only, so I don't know how the process went here, but maybe if you were involved in the sketching, the concepting, maybe that should be part of your portfolio. And in that case, what I always recommend is that the top is more your key art images, and the more you go down, so maybe after the third or fourth image, you kind of show the process. So step one, ideation. What was the idea, the mood you were going for? What were the guidelines? Maybe you can actually grab pieces from the art guidelines themselves, if that's allowed. And then you can show your process going to a second step, which was the mock out or block out. Defining the shapes, eventually looking into the edges, and that process can really show other people how your artistic process works and is, and then that creates trust and that professional brand that people really seek. So that could be a cool upgrade you can always do. Otherwise, the sculpting itself is really cool. I'm a big fan of this this style in general. Again, here I find the turntable lighting-wise a bit flat. Like this really pops out. This is a bit flat, so maybe the turntables need a bit of an upgrade, and then you can re-render them. Here is a tiny little thing for Call of Duty Mobile. Also looks pretty cool. A bit more basic, but cool. Not sure if you did that here. Yeah, so this is always good to do that, to put the names on there. It does fall away a little bit because of the background. So making the logos pop out, that really builds this sense of you are a professional or an expert. So make sure they pop out a little bit. And in this case, you could have maybe added a little bit of a gradient so the name pops out. But yeah, cool work. Tiny little props. A bit of a softer shading style, but that could have been that's maybe part of the process itself. This one also looks really cool. Again, it's the same sculpting style as we saw earlier. The colors are cool. Again, the breakdowns could be interesting to add here. And I think that's going to be the main theme of feedback for your entire work. Great. I really love this style in general. I would say, looking at everything I saw so far, also a cool piece, is the way you present your work and your portfolio and your brand can be a little bit improved. So here the lighting, for example, is really cool. This is a screenshot from ZBrush, I'm guessing. The lighting is more off. This is way better, right? So again, that maximizing of the presentation is going to go a long way. Same here with this turntable, the background, it's like in the void. So spending that little bit of extra time to really design and present your work and your portfolio piece pages can really go a long way with the breakdowns and the process again. And sometimes, I'm not sure, let me see how you did that here. All right, that's cool actually. Yeah, so I hope that makes sense. And I believe you're just sitting tight in the current job you have, so there is no real need to improve the portfolio in itself besides just keep going. And if this sculpting style is really the way you want to go into and keep doing it, yeah, then you slowly keep expanding that direction. Yeah, overall a really cool portfolio, I would say. Like I said, presentation here and there can maybe be a little bit better, and the breakdowns and the process would be really cool so people better see what type of person you are. Like, is it only sculpting or can you do more around that? I hope that helps. It's maybe a little bit of a vague, not a lot of feedback in there. And sometimes it's a little bit hard for me to give better advice because I don't really know what you're running into. So feel free to just reach out, ask me on LinkedIn or email if there's anything specific you want me to look at. And specifically with Mesh Masters, I am really trying to teach the more business side of art, not necessarily the art in itself, even though it is still a big component, but there is so much out there already on this subject of making the art. So what I'm trying to teach is more about the business side. What does it mean to be creative? What does it mean to be a creative professional? Teamwork, studio work, freelancing. And that is also why branding and the portfolio is a big topic that we talk about, because a lot of people kind of are missing. No, they're not optimizing. So in that sense, if there's anything around this topic you wanna know, then feel free to ask.